Hey guys, it's Chris the Batman Statue Collector. Welcome to an awesome statue chat. Here we go. Welcome to the show, guys. This is a conversation. This is going to be a spoiler-filled review of the Penguin series, basically. It just got over. I had been dreading this past weekend for literally 8 weeks, as I knew that, it was going to be the end for quite a long time, because the Batman 2 doesn't come out for, another year or two? I mean, at least, at the very least, I think. But anyway, I've titled tonight's show The Penguin, the greatest comic book show of all time. And I am curious if you guys agree with me on that, because there's been a lot of great comic book based shows. You got the Adam West series, of course, that is iconic. You have the Gotham show. You have a lot of different shows, the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. There's just been a lot of different comic book based shows over the years. Incredible Hulk, just a ton. But I can't remember ever a show having this much fanfare from general audiences. This thing is scoring 9.8 in general audiences. It's just been phenomenal, from cinematography to storytelling. Even if you're not a fan of the Batman movie, I think a lot of people have really gravitated toward this film and the incredible acting job. Obviously Colin Farrell completely disappears. Every time I see him on screen, in my head, I'm like, that's Colin Farrell. I have to remind myself, because it's just so crazy. So anyway, that's what we're going to talk about tonight. I've got Billy Rios in the house. How's it going, sir?
Doing well.
Great to see you. And then also, of course, JWR in the house. How's it going?
I'm good. This was the ending of the show was spectacular.
Is it kind of everything you wanted? Is it kind of what you expected to happen?
Expected, no. Wanted, yes.
All right. Very good. Again, like from the time that this was announced, I was very excited about what they might do with it. Obviously, this is I always thought like The Dark Knight was a realistic take on Batman, kind of a real world take. The Batman puts that to shame. Like, the Batman is very gritty. It's very earthy. It's very realistic to the crime, the crime wave in a big city. It's just, again, I just feel like it's very true. This is not a place that we're going to see Killer Crocs. We're not going to see probably a Clayface. I might be wrong, but it's not that fantasy type world that I think a lot of I was going to say collectors, but just general movie fans want to see, I think, in the next installment after this is over. But what have you thought about the show just overall? Like the way it looks, the way it's acted, like what have you guys thought?
Well, I mean, I think when your first thing that you said was that is it the greatest comic book show of all time. It's kind of hard to judge because it's only been one season, but it piggybacks off of, I thought, what was a great movie. So I think it's the acting that separates this show from anything else that we might have seen, even though the shows from, Batman 66 to, now the Disney Plus stuff and all those, it's gotten better and better. And, even from the Incredible Hulk in the 80s, which was, something I grew up with,
It's great. Yeah.
The acting has gotten better in these shows, but then this particular show piggybacks right off of a well-acted movie. So for us, even though it was one season, it still feels like, because we were, other than like Sophia, Penguin, Colin Farrell was amazing in the few scenes that he had in the Batman. And now you get to see him for 8-9 episodes. And like you said, it's him that separates it, but she's great. The mom is great. It is, the acting is what makes us feel like this was a 9-hour movie. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So in that way, it and I love Gotham. You know what I'm saying? And that was well acted, but this is a whole nother level.
What about you, JWR? What do you think?
I think it's up there with one of the greatest comic book TV shows of all time. I really do, especially modern age with what Disney Plus is doing. This show, unlike some Disney Plus Marvel shows have done, it developed every character that was in there. And it made you care about every single character. Victor.
I was just going to say, it kept the cast small.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like there were other characters that kind of popped in and out, but like it was like the five. You know, it was like that was the characters. You know.
And every episode, whatever happened to those five characters, we were sucked into it. We were like, what is Victor going to do? What is Oz going to do? What is Sophia going to do? What is Oz's mom going to do? We were just like, what's going to happen? Maroney, his character, the way they developed him and his wife and their son, that was great storytelling also.
Yeah,
So
and of course I was hooked from the beginning, just like you've mentioned Maroney and the Falcones. Those characters are key to the Long Halloween, which again I love those stories. There were the mob families fighting, and that's exactly what they brought into this. Now we did see that in Gotham also, so it's not necessarily anything new, but the way that they portrayed the characters, like you said, the storytelling, the backstory, and I think what helped really is the fact that there was already that world established. You know what I mean? So they didn't have to do too much in terms of like the way Gotham is, or, you know, I just feel like they already had that visual in place. And then so they could really, instead of necessarily focusing on all of that, focus on the storytelling and the character development, which again, it was just outstanding. Especially, I think with Victor, did you feel that Victor was like us? Like Victor we were supposed to relate to Victor probably the most because he was kind of like just the everyday person.
Yeah, I mean, I liked what they did with him in that you got to see, like, when in the movie The Batman, when Riddler blows up the vans, and that's how the flooding starts, right? Um, all we see is it from one perspective, right? You know, and I think it was episode maybe 2 when the bombing starts and things get flooded. You kind of see it from like, oh, like what was going on outside. You know, like we saw it from Batman's perspective when Batman realizes that the vans were set up throughout the city. He's with a cop, and he says, "Hey, call Commissioner Gordon or Detective Gordon," and we kind of see the chaos, right? But we don't know of anybody who's actually was in the chaos. You
Right.
know, whose house got flooded, who lost their mom or dad. You know, with him in episode 2, we got to see what was going on from maybe the other side of town. You understand what I'm saying? And so from that moment there, I was like, all right, I was interested in him just from that. Like he saw it, you know, then with the girl and everything, you know, they saw it from a whole different perspective. Same movie, just different points of view.
Yep.
Absolutely. I think my favorite character by far of the series was Sophia Falcone. I loved watching her. Fantastic actress. I haven't seen her in much outside of like How I Met Your Mother. That was the big reveal when she was that character. But it made me fall in love with this actress. Like she is fantastic. And I talked a little bit about it, I think, on Rogues, but I love the fact that, you know, she always wanted to be a Batman villain. Like she loved Batman growing up, and like that was a dream come true for her. And so I feel like her level of villainous is like up there with some of the greats. I don't know if you guys agree with that or not, but I think she did a phenomenal job in this show.
Oh, she stole the show. Like we all thought Colin was going to be the main like star of that one, but she came out from that first scene of her walking up behind him and them going to dinner and her whispering in his ear. Just her eyes told so many stories without her saying a word. I think she did a phenomenal job in this series.
Yeah, I was just gonna say the black eyeliner around her eyes, like her eyes popped so many times. You could just see her intensity and kind of the evilness that is going through her brain every time she was on screen.
When she
Yeah,
gathered all the henchmen around the table
yeah. I was
and
gonna
she was
say that.
giving
Yeah.
her like Oz just gave his speech. Now she was giving her speech. And at the same time, you're like, what is she about to do? And she just shoots that dude in the head and just dumps that money and makes it blood money, like legitimately blood money. And they're like, we'll take it. You know,
Mm-hmm.
she was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, her acting and the storytelling and everything. I mean, because you got to remember, in the beginning, you kind of feel bad for her. Well, you do feel bad for
You
her. You
do,
know,
you do.
her mom was killed. You know, and then as you know, and she was jailed. And you feel
Thanks to
like,
her
man,
dad. Her dad
yeah,
put her
she
there,
she
basically.
she got a lot of dirt done to her, and then she starts doing some evil stuff too, and then you're like, oh man, she's really kind of bad. But then you sympathize with her. Is she bad because of what's happened to her and what she's been through, you know. So even throughout all those things that she did and the stuff in the house with the gas and everything, and you know, she still takes the little girl out, you know, so there was still some moral compass there. But you know, I mean, killing is wrong no matter what has happened in your past.
Right.
But you're like, well, is it justified? Is it not? But you do sympathize with her because she's been going through this since she was a kid. She was in jail. She just so she made you feel bad for her, and then she was like, hey, she made you feel like she's a straight up villain, you know.
Mhm.
So I mean, it was between the writing and how she delivered it, it was awesome.
It was interesting too, like, because it was kind of a confusing show where there was a lot of episodes, especially initially, where you're kind of rooting for the Penguin. You know, you're kind of
Yeah.
on his side, and I like that they kind of put some senses of humor throughout the show. I mean, it was very subtle in places, but I'm sure you guys picked up on those places. But even like, you know, getting the frozen thing at the very end of the first episode, you know, like the frozen treat, like, there was just a lot of like fun. I don't know what I guess I'm trying to say, but like fun nods to just the lighter side of life. And but then throughout the series, you start realizing, okay, we're really not supposed to be rooting for Penguin. And by the end of the episode 8, I mean, how anybody could root for this guy, and like he is just, especially after, you know, again, spoilers, you know, what happened to Victor. And as he was sitting there, I said out loud, I'm like, he's gonna do it.
Mm-hmm.
And he did, because it's just like he can't have any loose ends. It's the family that showed him that he was weak, and it was his mom that ultimately almost led to his death. That was his weakness. So it's like, I can't have any weaknesses. Period.
The minute he put his arm around Victor, I was like, he's either about to stab or shoot Victor. But when he started choking him, I was like, wow. I was like, that's a personal kill right there.
Well, didn't he like drop the F word or something, or he just said, and then he kind of changed it into something like. But as soon as he said that too, I was like, he realizes he has to kill him now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which I mean, I get the idea of like you shouldn't root for Oz by the end of this, but I wanted to see Penguin win. I wanted to see him rise up to power. And spoiler alert, when after he kills Victor and he's going from his now purple Bentley up to his new home, and he had that top hat on, I was like, that is a nod to just all the comic book fans, and he just looked so much like the Penguin finally, with the nice tuxedo and the vest and the top hat. So I really did like that.
I kind of just assumed as we went into the show that it would be about his rise to power, that he would be kind of that mayor character that he's been portrayed a lot lately in the comics, where he's more of a politician, and they did that way back in 92 also, you know, where he was running for mayor. But so a lot of the themes have continued over the years. But I really love that version of him. And so I thought this was a really cool nod to all of that. And I've had some conversations with some people that are concerned that they love the series, but they're concerned about the general audiences. Because if you saw the Batman, he was kind of this underly boss, kind of like he run the Iceberg Lounge and he did this and that. Wasn't really that big a deal of a character. In this film, he's definitely going to be a bigger character. Like, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with. Batman's going to have to deal with him. Do you feel like going from, like, if people don't see the series, like, do you feel like that's going to hinder people?
Oh yeah.
Because I can see that happening. Like, we're like, what the hell? Like, how did Penguin in like 2 months? How did he rise to power that quick?
Well, I mean, I don't think, I take that back. I don't know if it's going to hinder them, but I don't think you're going to enjoy that next movie as much, because at the end of the Batman, um, when it's chaos, but they're kind of digging out from what happened, he does say, hey, there are going to be certain people that try to take advantage of the situation and, kind of like elevate themselves. And it shows the Penguin. So if you just leave it there, and let's say there was no series, when you pick up the next movie, and he is something, well, it kind of already was said that that was going to be his ambition, right? But is it more enjoyable if you saw the progression and you actually saw how this happened? I think so. I mean, one of my big things with the series that I had issues with, honestly, was the same issue that I had with Smallville and the same issue that I thought I was going to have with Gotham was like, how is this going to work without Superman? I don't care about Clark Kent. You know,
Mhm.
how is this going to work with a young 10-year-old Bruce Wayne? And I need Batman. I don't care about that. And I quickly learned that, I mean, I didn't watch Smallville, but I love Gotham. And I think that was the first show that the development of characters, especially these characters that I've known my whole life, actually began. And it was just one interpretation of it, but
Right.
I enjoyed the ride to the build of something that, even though I knew where they ended up, I knew that, Oz was going to be the Penguin, or, Edward is going to be the Riddler. I know that already, but I enjoyed the ride. So I think somebody who doesn't see this series in between the two movies will be okay with the next movie, but you won't enjoy the ride. You want to
Yeah.
enjoy the progress. That's fun for,
Mhm.
maybe it's just fun for us, but I think that's enjoyable for most.
I was going to say, I do think it helps that this has gotten so much attention. So I think most people will be like, oh, there was a series. Like, oh, that makes sense because there was a series.
Yeah, I mean, I
Um,
got people who say that they want to go. I asked them if they watched it. They said no. I want to go back and rewatch the Batman movie and then start it. So
yeah, that's
you know,
cool. That's cool.
I
So, I mean,
recommended it to a bunch of people and just said, hey, think of it as Sopranos meets Breaking Bad, and you don't have to be a Batman fan to enjoy this show. And a lot of people have said, you're right. I'm not a Batman fan, but I really do like this show. It's well scripted, character development was on point. So it's a great show just to watch separately from the Batman world.
I think just in general, I think a lot of people love mob stories. Like they love Goodfellas, they love The Godfather. Like those are ingrained in a lot of us. And I'm assuming like you being back east, I would imagine there was a lot of those stories. It was a little closer to home, I would imagine. With some of those stories growing up, I would imagine. But I've always loved them, and I don't know why I guess, but I just always find them intriguing, and especially in the comic books. And I think that's one thing that we don't always see those stories these days because, they're off flying, in space and doing all kinds of stuff these days. But I really liked those kind of down to earth, nitty gritty, dark, noir type stories. And I think that's why we all connected with the movie so well, is just because that's exactly what we want out of a Batman film. Yes, we would love to have the fantastical, stuff as well. But, I
well,
don't,
that's
I
it.
don't need
That
characters flying around in tights. Like I don't need that.
Right, but that's the thing about that's so appealing about Batman is that he doesn't have any superpowers. He's got his money and he's got his brains. And I think what you said about the mob stories is that you know it's more storytelling, because when you talk about Goodfellas, you talk about The Godfather, all these movies, there's no superpowers other than their money, their brains, and storytelling, and usually they always revolve around family, you know, but you tend to be more into the story rather than the effects,
Right.
not that Superman's stuff ain't great, but I mean, Superman, how do you expect him to lose? Like yeah, he can do
Green glow
anything.
darts. Yeah.
Yeah, but I think it's because those movies and this series and it's more character development, it's more dialogue, it's more storytelling because of the lack of super effects and super beings. That's why I was never one for Batman in the Justice League.
Yeah.
Batman should not be in outer space fighting Darkseid.
Yep.
It just never made sense to me. He would be killed. Who could say he can breathe up there? He's a human being. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, like he should be on the ground in Gotham City fighting crime.
Yep.
That's
See, I just never have connected with any of those stories. Like I know there's
yeah,
a lot of
me
Justice
neither.
League fans, and again, nothing, no offense to those fans out there, but like
No,
I want Batman in his world, and that's it. And that's because again, everything you just said makes way
and
total
even in
sense.
the Justice League, Superman is Superman. Why isn't he friends? He can handle everything by himself.
Right, exactly. Well, of course, the rumor kind of going around when this series first started that was that we might get a Arkham type show, which I would have absolutely loved. And then it kind of sounded like that was not going to happen. But with the success of this series, this franchise, obviously HBO Max is very happy. Ratings are through the roof, and so they would love to have additional stories. And that's the thing that I love is they could continue to tap into this world. They don't have to have Batman, like you said. There was rumors that they might do a Joker show, and that's been debunked. But I still think that they could do an Arkham type show, or even, continue Sophia's story, or it doesn't have to just be the Penguin, but it could be anybody, any villain, which I thought was really interesting. What about you guys? Like, do you guys see them doing something along the universe? And like, what would you like to see them do specifically?
Josh?
You want to?
I mean, it's funny because we all know that, if something made money, if something was successful, do it again, right? And if it sucked and nobody watched it, then why would you do it again? You'd be like, this is no good, not going to go down that road. But I think we were going to love this series no matter what, right? Because we love the movie, we love Batman stuff, whatever. I think more people got into this and loved it than maybe they had anticipated. And, so, I mean, it's Warner Brothers. So who knows? But if something made money, why? I mean, the first movie made so much money that even when James Gunn took over and completely killed the DCEU and got done with that and wants to go do his own thing, they kept the Batman and were like, oh, it's going to be Elseworld. You know what I'm saying? Because it was so successful. So how could, all right, well, it doesn't have anything to do with the world I'm building, but it's kind of off over here doing its own little thing. You know what I'm saying? And then we're going to greenlight the Penguin show. Well, guess what? That was a success too. So since it's off in its own little neck of the universe, let it keep being successful. I could see them doing more stuff. Why not? It doesn't have anything to do with what James Gunn is doing. And at least, listen, I don't want to see Robert Pattinson in that universe.
No, he
You know what
wouldn't
I'm
fit.
saying? Yeah. So let's just keep it off in its little corner over here for the down to earth fans. And then that, Justice League stuff is cool too. I'll go see it. Leave it over there. Keep it separate. So yeah, I could see them continuing. Maybe not right away, but why not? It was successful.
How about you,
I can
Josh?
see them doing a series after each movie and just kind of picking up where, like, whoever the villain is in Batman 2, or they could pick one and just pick up and do the same thing. It's an easy formula, great writers, great character development. There's characters that we care about. Keep building off of it. Build a world that is based on movies and on TV series, and that is something that will keep the fans happy all the time. Because you can go back. Go ahead. You can go back and watch Batman, and it picks up right where the Penguin started. So like you can watch them like one endless binge, and then Batman 2, and then if they did another series, just have it end where somewhere they can just pick up the series and just go right off that movie.
I agree, but I also think that they're not going to want to wait that long. I don't think they're going to want to wait till after the second. Because this thing's made them a ton of money. Like it is, I mean, it's hot. It's got the franchise buzzing, which has been, when's the last time anything DC was successful?
Right, but
outside of the Batman, it's been a minute.
Right, but then if you wanted to go right away, you have to go another series because they're not ready with the movie yet. So it's either you wait till whatever it is, 2025, 2026 I think it's at October of 2025 maybe, right?
Yeah, I think it's
for the Batman 2.
I think it's bumped out to 26.
So look, I mean, we're in 2020 and the end of 2024. Do you drop this for, let's say it's October of 2026? Do you drop it for a year and a half? I mean, people might not care anymore. People's minds tend to go, so
that's what I'm saying. It's too long. It's too long to wait.
Yeah, it's
too long to wait.
So you'd have to get in another series, which I'm guessing will be a little bit easier and cheaper to produce, but do you go with the Penguin again, or do you pick another character? And
I have one for you. And you actually brought it up. Tell them about what you caught on the show. Maybe a little Easter egg, possibly.
Yeah, it could be nothing or it could be something. I actually read that. I mean, I'm not gonna take credit for it. John Campea said it, and that the girl Eve, who runs the brothel, I think, right, where
Yeah,
Oz frequents, and but he mostly dates her.
right.
When we first see her, she's got the wig. It's blonde. They get back to the apartment. She takes it off. She takes her makeup off. She looks completely different. And then he tries to get her to do something. She doesn't want to do it. I can't really remember, but that's how we see her one way when we first see her. Then we see her a different way. Then at the end, she is dolled up to look like his mom, the dress and the hair and all this other stuff.
Which
And
is a
her
whole nother sick side of
whole
him.
yeah,
Like,
because
yeah,
at first I thought when we first saw that, when I first saw it, I thought it was like a flashback because she
I
looked
did
so
too. I thought
much
it was the mom because
like the mom.
that
That's
was
what
He was
intentional. That
having
was
like a
clearly
I
delusion.
intentional.
thought it was
Yeah,
the mom. Exactly.
so well done.
The girl in the show, her name is Eve Carlo.
Carlo.
Yeah, and Clayface's name is Basil Carlo.
So that, I mean, that you never know.
Yeah, I mean,
Unless, I mean, Carlo could have just been a tribute,
could have been,
but
or it could be just a subtle thing to maybe in another series she just always looks different. I mean, with makeup or hair or something, it could just be that she takes on different looks, and who knows, or it could just be a nod.
it could be. But I still thought that was a great catch. And again, I love John Campea.
Yeah.
Always great content there. But I thought that could have been interesting. That could be in a whole nother series potentially. But let's talk about that craziness with the mom at the end, like that. Like clearly, this guy loves his mom.
Yes.
Maybe a little bit too much.
Right, but it's not like and we've seen this with other shows. He loves his mom. It's not I mean, it's crazy. It's not in an inappropriate way.
I
It's not.
disagree.
Well, I mean, it's a possessive way. He to where he even knocked off the brothers, you know. But I always felt like he was so needy, with because he was. I mean, his brothers were spry and running around and athletic, if you would say, or whatever. He always had a disability, so he was needy, and also had a possessive personality, to where like, let me do away with these guys, and in his young mind, he thought that was okay to do, and it just kind of goes off like that. I mean, Gotham touched on that a little bit, but I remember her being more of a burden on him.
Yeah.
And she's a little bit more cuckoo,
I still feel like there was some like kind of some weird inappropriate, because it's like, I don't know, like and this is his girlfriend that he's having dress up like his mom.
Well, I mentioned that to Josh.
I don't know.
I mentioned that to Josh in a way, in a funny text that we won't get into, but
I'm not.
Keep the PG here on the show.
Yeah, no. I mean, I was like, I knew it, but Josh kind of like brought me back to earth. And you can explain what you texted to me. Don't say what I said, because
and I won't say my comment after what I said that made you laugh even more.
Yeah, that's funny.
So you got to go back to like when they're in the old bar. Like she's
Monroe's great set, by the way. Monroe's.
She knew that he killed his two brothers.
She always knew.
And she went to the gangster that Oz was telling stories about that everybody looked up to and wanted him to kill Oz. And then Oz being just sweet and saying, I'm going to take care of you, I'm going to do this for you, made her change her mind. But she always looked at him, was like, you killed my two sons. Like, I don't like you. And then for her to look at him and say, I hate you. You were the devil since you were born. That snapped something in Oz. And then when she collapsed, I mean, you saw Oz's strength come. I mean, he ripped through that chair and murdered everybody while carrying her.
That is probably the one thing in the entire series I did not like, was him just ripping through that chair. Like, I'm like, you're duct taped both legs and hands on a chair. That would be really difficult to get through. But like you said, he was in a lot of rage. I guess, when somebody's that mad, you never know what somebody could do. But that was the only thing I'm like, well, he kind of got out of that chair a little too easily, in my opinion. But that was just me.
But he just wanted his mother's approval and admiration and love. That's all he's ever wanted, was to prove to her that he could be that gangster like the one growing up. I don't remember his name, but he drove the gold Cadillac and everybody looked up to him. That's who Oz wanted to be for his mother. So she would love him and praise him, and he would be accomplished in her eyes. And then the whole ending where she's wearing that dress with her hair done, the girlfriend, and he's dancing with her, and she's saying, "You're a good boy." I was like, a little weird.
Yeah, a little weird.
I was like, a little weird. So
and
I
you
could
saw how he
see
was holding that in. He was willing, rather than admit it, he was gonna let her lose a finger.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
And but again, that whole point was just, you have to despise him. Like, that is what they were going for. Like, even if you liked him a little bit early on, by the end of this series, you cannot like this man. He is evil. He's going to lie to his, not even protect his mom, to have her finger cut off, like you said. Like, it's just, he's not a good person.
But when he was sitting there saying, "What the hell are you talking about? What the hell are you talking about? Ma," you start doubting, like, did she just make this up in her head because of her illness? Did this really happen? So it starts making you doubt what the writers have already told you. It made me start. I was like, maybe he didn't kill. And then he finally confessed to it. And I was like, bro, you almost let your mom's finger get cut off. I was like, you are a sick, twisted, awesome dude. Yeah. Because he wanted power.
And he's going to get it. I think
he
is unstoppable, I think, at this point.
It was so well acted, and the storytelling was so good. And like I said, I thought when they first announced it, they said that, well, Robert Pattinson would be in it. He's not going to be Batman. He'll be Bruce Wayne. Like, all right, well, at least we'll see him or whatever. And then it was like, well, no, he's not going to be in it at all, And then I thought maybe, we'll see the Batmobile go down the street or something in one of the episodes or something,
It's
you
weird.
Never got anything, and they never mentioned it. It was never on like a TV where like it was on in a room and you heard about it or heard about him, or like the Batman did this or that. He really, I've seen a few different places while they explain why he wasn't around, he's just like, well, he's not important enough. He had so many things going on. He wasn't on his radar,
Yep, right.
And then we got nothing. But honestly, by episode 3, I wasn't even thinking about Batman anymore.
I wouldn't either. There were times where I was like, okay, where is he? Like, like what, when he like have, his ear to the ground on this character. But
in the beginning of the Batman movie, he says it's a big city. I can't be everywhere.
Right.
So we don't know where geographically Penguin was over here. Batman could be anywhere.
Sure.
So yeah,
it's weird. I read this article about there's some pact or some contract where Batman is not allowed to be on TV. He cannot be. That's why he wasn't in Gotham. And I don't know if it was ever since the 60s show or whatever it is, but it's really quite interesting. They did have an image of him, obviously, the very last shot of Gotham, which was the all-time worst Batman costume ever. I think I could go buy a Ruby's costume off the shelf and it looked better.
Yeah, that was Halloween spirit.
Just horrendous costume. But I think that's primarily why we haven't seen Batman in these type of shows. But I didn't really miss him. Like you said, I appreciate the nod of the bat signal at the end. I thought that was really well done and had a great parting shot. But yeah, I don't feel like we missed Batman because again, we had so many great characters, so much great character development. And we also had kind of another kind of an Easter egg here at the very end where Sophia is in prison, back where she absolutely could not, didn't want to be. But she gets a letter. And she gets a letter from another Gigante, which again is another nice nod to the long Halloween, and half sister being Selina Kyle.
She's a Falcone.
She is.
She's her twin, her half sister. Yeah. No, she's from the dad.
Right. Yeah. They don't have the same.
So she's not a Gigante. She's a Falcone.
That's right. She's a Falcone. Yeah, Sophia is a Falcone. That's right.
So, or no, Selina's a Falcone.
Selina. Selina's a Falcone, right? Yeah, Selina's a Falcone.
She just uses her mom's last name.
Well,
at least in the movie she does.
But really interesting. So it'll be interesting to see. And I'm just so glad they didn't. I was really worried they were going to kill her off, and I'm really glad they didn't because again, she's just such a great character. And again, I'm assuming that means we'll see more of her. And again, I don't know if they could do a whole other series of again of her in Arkham or something like that. I also kind of wondered if maybe they could do a series, kind of just slowly introducing the Court of Owls, because again, I feel like that is to me the easiest thing to write in this particular world they've created. It's so realistic. It talks about the history of the families and the underground societies and the just everything in society with Gotham. And I think that could be an easy fit. So that would maybe be an easy way to introduce if they didn't want to do it in the movie. I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Or would you rather to see them go full force in the movie?
I'd rather see them set up the Court of Owls and then go full blown in the movie. Dream World, they start off Batman 2, him fighting a D-level villain, and then it sets up for the big one. I always liked it when they start off already defeating a villain and then going off to find and defeat the main villain of the story. Like, how awesome would be Professor Pig at the start of Batman 2? It'd
be great. I'd like to see any of those realistic villains. I do worry sometimes. Like, I feel like Riddler was kind of like a serial killer type character. So I feel like anything like Zaz or Professor Pig, I don't feel like they will do again, because I just feel like they've already done it. But it'll be interesting to see. There's been rumors of possibly like a Hush, like a Tommy Elliott type character. There's been rumors of a Mr. Freeze. Again, a lot of people have hinted at a Court of Owls. Just makes sense. They could do a Dr. Hugo Strange. There's some things that they could do, to kind of set up various villains. But I also thought it was interesting that Colin Farrell kind of let some information out of the bag that he said he signed on for like 3 or 4 more films. So that means we're not just going to get a trilogy necessarily. It's like they're wanting to keep making these, which I actually kind of love. I don't think it has to be a trilogy. No. I feel like that sometimes that kind of, everybody's like, I just wish we could have had one more film. So I'm kind of glad that he said that, because, and he also said he's got like 5 or 6 scenes in the Batman 2. So I think they're going to continue his arc clearly going into all of these films and him staying into power for, I'm guessing, for a while.
Which him not being in Batman 2 after the series would just be weird.
Right. Yeah,
it'd just be like a bigger role than what he had in the first Batman. I think it'd just be weird. And like, it'd been like, why do we have this series if Penguin's not going to be a major player in Batman 2?
Yep.
Right. So if you have Penguin though, and then you do the Court of Owls, you got to figure talent is a big part of that. That would already be 2 villains. And then I don't know if you would consider Salina a villain, whatever, probably not, but she'll be involved. Sophia's involved. She's definitely a villain. If you have too many villains, it just kind of like, it kind of screams Batman and Robin to me, where you had Freeze, Ivy, Bane. It was just crazy, where the first movie was so focused. It was, Batman chasing the Riddler, that whole thing, that storytelling to lead up to that. Even Joker, who was just in a cell, you don't even see his whole face. It was just perfect. Like, if you like those kind of movies, if you like that storytelling, the movie was perfect. I wouldn't want them to blow it up in the next movie with all these characters, and it just kind of gets crazy.
Well, and I had forgotten that Salina leaves. She leaves Gotham, so there could be another little mini series. Maybe it's Salina's story. Maybe like what is she doing outside of Gotham right now? Like what is her story, and how does she end up back with Batman somehow? Maybe, or there's a lot of really great storytelling that it's very difficult to tell that many stories. Like you said, it just gets convoluted. It gets fuzzy and blurry. So having these little pockets of stories that kind of give us the whole picture, which is exactly what comic books do. Like, it's just, you have these things that are these little offside stories. And it's just, I love what they're doing. I'm getting goosebumps even thinking about, just, again, there's so many different possibilities. And I love that they're kind of sticking true to some traditional comic book stories, which I absolutely love. But knowing that we're going to have a bunch more of these, like, that's pretty exciting to me.
Well, like what you said, like, we're going to get a bunch more. Colin Farrell says he signed on for another 3 or 4 appearances or whatever it is. I hope that we're able to keep, and I know it's hard with schedules and contracts and money. That's what it always comes down to keep all the actors, Zoe Kravitz, definitely Robert Pattinson, because that's kind of like what happened with the Michael Keaton stuff. It was like, well, 1 and 2 are favorites. We all love
Mhm.
89 and Returns. Michael Keaton doesn't want to do it. Here comes Val Kilmer. And it wasn't that Val Kilmer was necessarily bad in the role. It was a bad. It was. That wasn't even a bad movie because I kind of enjoyed Forever, but it was so different tone wise from the first two movies that it was just like I'm watching something completely different, And then by the time we got to Batman and Robin, and they're ice skating down from space on a door, if you remember that, it was like, and it's supposed to be the same form. It's supposed to be this. I mean, it was the same Alfred,
Well,
same
you
Commissioner Gordon, right?
again, you can
It just
thank
went haywire on me.
and you can blame McDonald's for that
I heard that. I heard
because it
something
was
like
all
that.
because of the McDonald's Happy Meal toys
Yep,
that they weren't happy about the
it
black
was too
goo from
dark. Yeah,
Penguin. Yep.
right.
So that's what caused the shift. The studios panicked. But man, could you imagine a third Burton film? That would have been just so great. But
Third Burton film with Keaton would have
yeah,
been
with Keaton,
amazing.
would have been awesome. But
Yeah, just the tones of the movies. Just 1 and 2 are one thing, and then 3 it was something else, and then 4 became something else. It
well,
was
I,
just
I don't
crazy.
I don't think we have to worry about that with this franchise. I think that they,
Nope.
Right, but even like uh Falcone, like I
yeah, I
know
was gonna say,
it was supposed to be a little bit younger,
yeah,
so John Turturro was and they
it
brought in
worked. It
some
worked for me.
it did work. And if in the beginning I'm like, wait a minute, okay, well he's supposed to be younger. Okay, so
Yeah.
it kind of makes sense. But
But
you
I
just
agree.
yeah,
I hate when
right.
they do that. I hate
Just
when they change actors.
I hate it. I know it's part of it. It happens, but the continuity thing is
Yeah.
yeah, let's try to. And I think you get the turnover with actors when you stretch it out too much, and either they lose interest, they don't want to pay them, or they're off doing something else.
Yep.
That's why stretching it out, you know, doesn't always work either.
One last thing I wanted to talk about before we wrap up. We've gone over 40 minutes. It was a little longer than I was expecting, but I'm so glad we got to talk about this. This has been a lot of fun. I wanted to hear your take on like one of my favorite things that I've seen on this franchise was actually not even in the movie. It was when they revealed that cut scene with the Joker. And it was revealed around that time that the Joker character, what they kind of wanted him to do was be an Arkham, but be kind of like a Hannibal Lecter type character where Batman goes to him for advice. And that's just like Clarice does in the movie, The Silence of the Lambs. Do you like that idea? Do you think that they should, I want them to have that scene. Like that scene was so good, so creepy. I want it to be in the film somehow. And I don't know if, obviously I don't think it ever will. It's just a shame. I can't believe they cut it. But do you guys think that that's something they should do going forward in the next maybe 3 or 4 films, is just have the Joker and then maybe the last film he's out and
Yes.
he's escaped, and then that's the big finale, where he has to take down Joker.
I would like that. I don't like how they made Joker look in this movie. And I could see maybe that's why they cut that scene, because fan backlash or did not like the appearance of the Joker being all mangled the way they made him. But I could see in Joker or Batman 2, Patterson going to him and being like, this is what's going on. You got any advice? Them two playing off each other, two sides of the same coin. And then by the third or maybe the fourth movie, he breaks out. And then the next 2 movies is Batman versus Joker. That would be a really good way to end the series with this.
Yeah.
I like it just the way that it is, and I wish that, like Chris, I wish that scene was in the movie. I love that. Listen, we don't need another Joker dominated movie. Having him be this little role player and having him be locked up. If they locked him up for all the movies and Batman, like you said, just a la Silence of the Lambs goes to him for advice, I'm fine with that. And then at the end, if you want to like let him out some kind of how, and maybe not even have Batman chase him, you just use your imagination and let it end up however you want have it end up. That's fine. And I mean, me personally, I like the way that he looked because it kind of puts him in this world. If you take it back to Batman '89, which was a straight comic book movie, even though it's Batman in Gotham, if you fell into a vat of acid, you wouldn't come out this raving lunatic with green hair. You would be dead.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
they took it up a notch to reality in the Chris Nolan stuff where it was makeup and he dyes his hair, and we even saw him, you know, without it, and he just had scars. In this, it's even more grounded. He doesn't have green hair because that's comic booky, and you know, for this world, it may not work. He just literally probably was cutting himself up, or maybe somebody else did it in a fight, you know, and he could just be crazy because in reality, we do have a lot of crazy people, right?
Yep.
And he was just so mangled and scarred up. Now, if you just have scars on your face and you're a lunatic, you know, okay, that works in here, you know, but to have him with the makeup and the green hair kind of doesn't really work in this world. So he could just be Hannibal Lecter crazy, you know, and oh, Batman just says, "Hey, what do you know about this guy? What do you think? What would you do if you were this person? And what would be your next move?" And just throughout the films does that, you know. And like I said, I don't care if Pattinson ever battles a Joker, you know, because there's so many other great characters that would work. Professor Pig, Strange, Zaz, tons of grounded characters. We don't need another Joker in another film. We all love Joker and Batman, but you know,
Right.
and this is a way to keep him in it. He is in
Right.
it,
He's in
but
it.
just in a different way. That's it.
I agree with you on almost every point you just made. I really love the look of him. I know not everybody did, but I think it's great. Again, it's grounded in reality. It was creepy as hell. Like you know, as he kept going up and you can just see a little bit more of his face at, you know, every inch. And it's just so creepy, and the laugh and stuff. And Barry Keoghan, I think did a not really great job, and I hope they keep him. I would like to see him continue on with the role, but, and you know, like you said, if maybe if he does get out the last scene, or maybe the very last shot of the movie is, you know, Batman saved the day, blah, blah, blah. But then you see a cut to Arkham, and, you know, the fire extinguisher, or the water's, you know, the fire alarm's been pulled, the water's coming down or something like that. And you just hear him laughing, and it's like, you just see the shadow of him. And then it like pans above his head into the city where he's broken into Gotham. And it's like, and that's the way the series ends, because you just know that now it's going to be an internal battle, Batman versus Joker. We don't necessarily need to see it, but we know it's going to be there, because it has been, you know, since what, 1928, which is, you know, just exciting. I could definitely see them doing something like that. I again, I don't know if I need to see that battle. I don't know if I need to see that as the main character. I think it'd be cool, but there's just a lot that they could do, and I know that they're going to take their time and really work it out, because I think that they've been really smart with the way they've been doing this.
Matt Reeves is really good. Can you believe that it was almost Ben Affleck and Matt Reeves?
Yeah.
It was almost Ben Affleck doing this role in this storyline.
Because it all started with Ben Affleck's Batman versus Deathstroke, and that, you know, that kind of changed into, yeah, it was amazing how it just kept changing.
I think this is better. I think I think this could go down as some of the best Batman movies to date right now.
I do too.
As long as Matt Reeves keeps his involvement and he keeps his fingerprint on what's going on. Like, I don't know if he directed any of the episodes. I know he didn't direct all of them.
No, is that I can't remember her name, but she was the showrunner through all the series. So
right,
yeah,
but so he was just kind of like overseeing.
Yep.
So it kept the look, it kept the theme, you know, all that kind. As long as he has his fingerprint on whatever they do going forward, right to the end, we'll be okay. Because obviously, when we talked about '89 and Returns, Tim Burton's style was a lot different from the Jerry Bruckheimer stuff that came in the next two films. Completely different feel. And that's why it's supposed to be 4 movies, right? And it doesn't feel that way.
Yep. And so I'm hoping it all stays the same, like you said. But again, like just even knowing that somebody else she had her hand in this series and did a phenomenal job. So like in her, I trust completely. Just because she did set that world, but again, it was all set by what they established in the first film. So anyway, what do you give it out of 10? What do you give the show out of 10? Let's end it that way.
I'm gonna give it a 9.5, only because it was only what 8 episodes.
Yeah.
That was it. I think they could have easily done. I mean, some of the Disney Plus Marvel stuff is 12,
Yeah.
right? 12, 15. Could
Yeah.
have done that, but yeah, it was a little short.
9.8 for me. I loved it. I loved just about everything about it. I couldn't wait. I mean, how often do you like think like, oh, it's Sunday, I can't wait to watch this? Like,
That's
when's the
what we
last
talked
time you
about the
had
other
that?
day. Like, I back in the day, I think Friends came on Thursday nights, right?
Yep.
But I don't remember because we've been streaming shows for so
Nope.
long. There's no more appointment TV. It's not
Right.
like, oh, dude, I got to get home. My show's coming on, or, you were parked in front of the TV at a certain time to watch your show. We do it for sports, games, football Sunday starts at 1 or my team's playing at 4.
Yep.
But shows, we watch them when we want to watch them, This
Mhm.
was the first show in a long time that 9 o'clock Sunday night, HBO Max, I was locked in.
Must see TV.
Yep.
Yep.
That's what. All right. Where do you rank it, Josh?
I'm gonna give it a 9. I'm
Okay,
gonna give it a
9.
9.
Okay. All
I'm gonna
right.
give it a 9. Nothing. Just there are a few things that I think they could have done a little bit better or elaborated on. So I'm gonna give it a 9. But it's still, out of all the TV shows that have come out recently, Fallout, Agatha, Penguin is number 1. And I thought nothing was going to beat Fallout, but Penguin beat Fallout for me.
That's awesome.
So I give it a solid 9.
That's awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming on, talking for almost an hour about this amazing show. And I definitely want to hear your comments. Let me know what you guys think about this particular show, what you liked, what you didn't like. Maybe talk about some of our theories of maybe shows that they could do in the meantime, or maybe shows that you would like to see them do character development wise, leading into the second film or maybe into the third. But definitely leave your comments down below. And gentlemen, thank you for your time. I really appreciate you talking about this awesome show with me.
I do have
go ahead.
question. Sorry, I don't mean to take more time. Do you think Victor's dead? Permanently dead?
I didn't think necessarily, and I got in trouble for this because I posted in my Instagram, I posted the missing poster for him, which I thought was interesting because, like, who knows he's missing? Like, his family's gone. Nobody really would know. But I did watch an interview with him today where they talked about the series ending and stuff like that. It was a great hour-long episode with him, the actor, and he is gone.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I could see him coming back being Victor Zaz. I was hoping for that. So
well, and some people even thought like Victor Freeze, like, again, like maybe that he comes, they're able to save him and they inject him with like some sort of like serum to make him, they have to freeze him to bring him back. But like,
I gotta tell you, when Penguin looks at his ID, and from where I was sitting in my living room, I was like, oh wait, I want to see his last name. I paused it to try to read his ID to see if there was anything that I could find on there that would have me think, okay, Freeze, Zaz, I mean, what's going on? But I couldn't come up with anything from Victor Aguilar.
No,
I thought the exact same thing. I'm like, oh, is this going to be like a clue? Because why would you show the driver's license that long?
Couldn't find anything.
It's like,
if somebody else knows, please. Share.
I thought
thinks anything.
If
you have your
honestly, they probably did that. They're like the hardcore fans. If we pause on this ID, they will zoom in. They will be talking about like, is there something in the corner? So they got it.
Yeah,
they got it.
So maybe the debate will continue. We'll see. But maybe who knows? Maybe he'll be alive. But just based on that interview, I'm guessing it sounded like he's pretty much not. So anyway, I was kind of hoping he might survive as well. But anyway, thank you, gentlemen, again for joining me. Really appreciate it. And thanks everybody in the audience for watching as well. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. And we'll see you for the next conversation, Rogues Gallery Live or whatever. But thanks for hanging out with us. Bye. Thanks for watching. See you in the Batcave, guys.